Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, and welcome to my very first video for Dauntless. Dauntless is a game that was announced a couple of weeks back now during the VGAs, and it is widely being referred to as the Western developed Monster Hunter. It's of course a game unto itself, but there is good reason for the comparison, and given that a lot of you guys on this channel are fans of Monster Hunter, then I thought I'd put together 6 reasons that you guys, as Monster Hunter fans, should consider checking out Dauntless. So if you guys do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below if you have any questions, and also let me know if you guys have already seen this, what do you guys think of it? But let's kick things off with number 6, and that is, there are giant monsters to slay. Well, technically speaking, they're not called monsters. In Dauntless, they are called behemoths. Behemoths are savage, gigantic beasts that roam the Shattered Isles, which is the world or the kind of location that you're going to be spending your time in during the game, and they threaten human civilization's right to survive. They have decimated settlements, taken countless lives, and they go around the Shattered Isles, consuming every resource and drop of ether, which is also a really important thing in this game. It's basically the kind of elemental force. I'm going to use that for the time being, but basically ether is sort of something that powers a lot of things. It basically gives things abilities, and these behemoths go around consuming this, the resources, and basically leave nothing left. They also say that behemoths draw their power directly from the earth itself, swallowing up the latent ether that's in the ground, and this then fuels their hunger and also powers their kind of elemental forces. So there's blaze, shock, and frost currently known. These are kind of 3 different elements. Think of it as fire, ice, and thunder. Plus, there are supposed to be additional elements we have yet to see, but these etheric powers then determine their physiology, their appearance, and their behavior. So you can then look at those elements as a means to sort of dictate how that monster or how that behemoth is going to behave. Really exciting stuff. They look really cool. We've currently seen 3. We don't know a great deal about them just yet, but we've seen Shrike, which is effectively this big owl bear. It's said to be graceful, precise, and predatory. It glides through the air, descends upon its foes, and has a pretty threatening shriek as well. Then there's Drask, which is my personal favourite one. It looks kind of like a big sort of lizard / Komodo dragon style thing. It's massive, it's fueled by etheric lightning, but the Drask is said to be a lot slower than other monsters, but what it lacks in speed, it makes up for in power, so it has the ability to take out an entire party of Slayers, which, by the way, is what we are referred to. It's not Hunters in this game, but instead Slayers. And yeah, Drask is said to be able to take out an entire party of those in one fell swoop, so definitely not something to mess with. And the third and final one at the moment is Embermane. This is said to be unpredictable, explosive, and savage. This is imbued with Blaze Ether, which is of course the fiery element, and it has a razor sharp horn. It's said to be really fast as well, and of course has very sharp claws that can effectively rip through Slayers. So right now, from the ones that have been announced, we basically have an airborne, graceful, swift beast. We have a massive, slow-moving, heavy-hitting sort of dinosaur, and also a fast-paced, fiery main/ball. Either way, really, really cool. There will, of course, be lots more announced over the course of the next few months, but for the time being, that is what we have. Then moving over to number 5, there are super cool weapons to use. So, much like Monster Hunter, you don't begin the game by choosing a class. You don't say, I'm going to be a tank, or I'm going to be a healer, or I'm going to be like the guy with the greatsword, the guy with the axe. You basically create your character, and you then choose your weapon when you're in game, which means you're not bound to anything, which means you can jump around, experiment with different weapons, and currently we have seen 4 weapons shown in the trailer. They've spoken about 3 on the website, the 4th is still currently not listed, but from what we've seen in the trailer, you have a giant axe, which can slash, sunder, and cleave enemies. It's a powerful, heavy-hitting weapon, and the harder you hit, the more ether you build up, and you could kind of relate that to, say, building up your Hunter Rock gauge in Monster Hunter Generations, in that the more you attack, the more you build. Only in Dauntless, the more you attack, the more ether you build, and this is of course used to allow you to do powerful attacks. So the harder you hit with the axe, the more ether you build, and being a slashing weapon, it also has the ability to cut tails off of monsters, break faces, different things like that, but the notion of kind of heavy hitting and building ether means that this weapon in particular rewards aggressive play. You then have the hammer, which is equal parts a mauling weapon as well as a cannon, because in the hilt of the hammer you have the ability to fire out cannon blasts, basically. Of course, much like in Monster Hunter, the hammer can be used to, pulverize and break horns, break faces, but of course with the added combination, the added lethality of being able to then finish that combo up with a cannon blast. Also, what's super cool, you get to see this in the trailer, you can harness the momentum of the concussive blast and ride the shockwave to basically kind of go headlong into battle, so you can effectively surf on your hammer. Yes, that's right, hammer surfing is a thing. On top of that, you have the sword, but this is not your conventional sword. The one seen in the trailer is actually a strike sword. This is said to be an unrelenting, deadly, and precise weapon. Every strike charges the ether in the blade, and it allows you to then string together punishing combos and unleash devastating blasts of elemental damage. So that is super cool, but quite possibly the most exciting weapon, the one that is not currently listed on the website, and that is this one here. This appears to be a Kusarigama, which is a Japanese weapon, sickle and chain effectively, and in Dauntless I would imagine it would kind of fill the sort of dual swords void, but of course with a slightly different flair to it. We haven't seen this one in combat, we've only seen it in the trailer where he basically just drops the sickle, starts spinning the chain, so beyond what you see here we really don't know much, but if this does end up behaving like a Kusarigama, then it's going to be a mixture of a kind of close range to medium range weapon, because you'll have the chain for, you know, lengthy reach, and of course you'll then have the blades for up close, you know, damage. So I would imagine this will probably be a fast attacking weapon, probably really good for kind of like dishing out elemental damage, and I would then imagine you're either going to use the chain to do damage from afar, or maybe use it to kind of restrain and tie down monsters. Who knows? Again, at some point once they reveal it, I will of course keep you guys up to date. Then moving over to number 4, this is a really quick one, but super important. The developers are fans of Monster Hunter games and games like that alike. Now this is super important because in the past we have seen many quote-unquote Monster Hunter clones, and some of them have been alright, some of them less than desirable, but what makes Dauntless different is that I wouldn't really call it a Monster Hunter clone. It is instead a game that is inspired by games like that and other games similar, but with its own unique twist. Also worth mentioning that the guys behind the game at Phoenix Labs, they have got a wealth of experience behind them. We've got people from BioWare, from Riot Games, from Capcom, and from Blizzard, so there is no shortage of talent and experience in that studio, and the fact that they are fans of games like Monster Hunter and Dark Souls, etc. is really encouraging to hear. Then moving over to number 3, craft armor and weapons. Again, much like Monster Hunter, one of the things that keeps you coming back is the ability to go and hunt monsters and then make stuff from those monsters. That is also an integral part of Dauntless. Of course, hunting monsters will yield trophies, items that you can then go and take back to the Aethersmith, who is basically the weaponsmith, and he then crafts gear for you. And some of the core items that you will need to craft things include something called Aspect Arcanite, which is an item used to imbue your weapons with either raw power or elemental damage. This comes from hunting behemoths. Also, behemoth trophies, which are items that are unique to a particular behemoth, again used to craft weapons, so I would imagine there'd be things like horns and tails and scales, kind of like you get in Monster Hunter. And also there's general items that are located around the world, things like minerals, flowers, ores, things called critter bits, basically insects. So again, kind of like the stuff that you would normally go and collect, all these items would go together to allow you to craft new and exciting gear. So provided the game has a wealth of different behemoths to hunt, then there will of course be a wealth of items to craft. Then moving over from there to number 2, this is actually different to Monster Hunter, and that is that the game is fully open world. If you guys played Monster Hunter, then you are of course going to be very familiar with the fact that the world map is broken into sections when you're hunting a monster. There's anywhere from sort of, 6 up to 12 different areas, and you then jump between those different areas. When you're hunting a monster, you deal damage to it, it flees, you then chase it to the next area, and this continues until you defeat it. This is of course a staple part of the series because you also use those areas to basically get yourself to safety. If you're about to die, you leave the area. Gives you guys a little bit of breathing room. However, Dauntless does not have that. Dauntless is one big open area, so that of course means that when you are hunting a monster, you will then need to use the environment to your advantage, hide behind stuff, run away, do whatever you need to do, but know that there's no area for you to run out if you get into a sticky situation. So that probably goes more hand in hand with the fact that there is a much more aggressive playstyle, the whole kind of notion of being in there and kind of like sticking in the fight, doing what you need to do, as opposed to running away. And then finally, in at number 1, it is free to play. Now yes, I appreciate that sometimes the notion of free to play kind of sends alarm bells ringing in people's heads. Know that the developers have said there will be no pay to win components in this game. They haven't said anything whatsoever right now with regards to microtransactions, but just know that because it's a free to play game, there is absolutely no reason to not check out this game. Even if you are a subscriber on this channel and maybe you don't play Monster Hunter, the fact that this is free to play means that when it comes out, you can check it out without having to spend a penny. If you like it, great. If you don't, no harm done. Either way, it's free to play, comes out next year. At some point, they're going to be having a playable alpha and beta. So once we do get more information on that, I will of course let you guys know. You can sign up right now on the website for more information and of course a chance to stay up to date when they do talk about things like alphas and stuff. But regardless, when this comes out, you can check it out completely and utterly free. And that's it. That, my friends, is a quick look at Dauntless, and those are some reasons that you guys as Monster Hunter fans should definitely consider checking the game out. But as mentioned, even if you guys haven't played Monster Hunter or aren't Monster Hunter fans, definitely still consider checking this out. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I will definitely be covering it once we get more information and once we get closer to launch, so do expect some more stuff on Dauntless in the new year. But for the time being, thank you for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.